All right, we'll call to order the Stevensville Town Council meeting for Thursday, November 12th, 2020. Ms. Berthod, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Devlin.
Here.
Councilmember Vick.
Here.
And Mayor Dewey.
Here. All right, if you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll pull up the flag here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item of business on our agenda tonight is public comment. We've not received any public comment this evening through virtual means, whether that be through email or our public comment form on our website. For those watching, know that those options are available for use. We don't have anyone on the phone tonight either. Next on our agenda is approval of minutes. We have the August 13th and the August 27th, 2020 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Vick, seconded by Ms. Devlin to approve the meeting minutes. Any council questions?
None.
Okay. All right, we don't have any public comment coming in. With that, Ms. Berthod, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Devlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Vick.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Next up is the approval of biweekly claims. You have claims 16309 through 16371. A complete set of claims has been uploaded into the council packet for you, and you received a claims report with the claims in your email this evening.
I'll make a motion to approve claims 16309 through 16371.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Devlin, seconded by Mr. Vick to approve claims 16309 through 16371. Council discussion or questions? Public comment. Just check here. All right, hearing none, Ms. Bertha, you call roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Devlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Vick.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right, we have our administrative reports this evening for you. The airport does not have a report. Mr. Underwood has fallen ill and is unable to join us this evening. He had not submitted a airport report. I can tell you that we conducted interviews for an airport manager this week. And I expect as soon as I can reconvene with Robert on that matter, we'll extend an offer of part-time employment. So that is moving along. Otherwise, I believe they've substantially completed the airport project at the airport, with the exception of maybe some painting that needs to be done. Otherwise, that's wrapped up. And then that's essentially all there is to report on the airport. The building department report does not have a report tonight. Robert's finance report is in your packet. That was uploaded today as well. He was able to finish that up. And so that's there for your review. Feel free to reach out to him if you have any questions directly. With that, fire department, Chief Motley, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm sure it's in your packet or October stats. We had 66 requests for service, 21 in town, 44 in the district with 1 mutual aid. Medicals, we had 48 medical responses and 14 fires and 4 motor vehicle crashes. We're at 552 as of the end of October. We're on par basically to come in somewhere around that 700 request for service is kind of our annual number. So other than that, that's our stats. Things that we've got done so far, the new command rig is completed, project is completed. It is online and running and doing great. We're expecting our new supply line to show up maybe tomorrow, but probably realistically sometime next week. So that's online. Or overhead lights in the truck bays and drop down, that project hasn't started yet, but talked with the electrician and they're planning to get that done here now right around Thanksgiving time, maybe during that break at Thanksgiving. So that's all coming. We are in line to get our overhead door expansion done. That bid is out and been awarded. The door was back ordered, so that shoved that completion date back a little bit. But it's all in line and will all be taken care of and funded through the grant. So, yep, we're into cold and slick and fall and freezing and all that type of weather stuff. So we're going forward with winterization on all of our apparatus. So we're covered that way. Going forward, yep, it's chimney fire season. For those in the public that might be on the call or in the Zoom meeting, if you're going to burn wood, burn your fireplace, make sure you have your flue clean, checked, and in good working operation order. It'll just save yourself some headache and hassle down the road. But other than that, it's pretty much business as usual within the fire department. Things are just clicking along well. We've postponed, our Christmas parties and those things for next month due to the COVID situation. As far as COVID responses, again, we're taking all the precautions that we can, still providing service, and we're limiting our exposures and those types of things. But it's business as usual within your fire department. We're just taking all the precautions necessary that we can to provide safe service to our citizens and our volunteers. So we will have a new member on the roster in December. She moved into town from the district, so although she's not really new to the fire service, she will be new to the town's roster living in town. So that's great. Pick up another responder. Other than that, that's about all we got right now from the fire department. Any questions?
Questions for the chief?
Good, thanks.
All right, Parks and Recreation, Mr. Sunstein.
All right. For Lewis and Clark Park, we've had one pavilion rental since our last report. We've been doing a lot of fall cleanup. We had a couple branches come down, leaves everywhere. We've been trying to stay on top of that to the best of our ability. Still cleaning and sanitizing parks as often as possible, weather dependent. If it's frozen or snow, obviously can't really get out there and people aren't really utilizing the play structures anyways at that time. For River Park Trail, we've done a lot of fall cleanup down there. There's a lot of dead trees and stuff around, so I'm constantly checking that to make sure the path is still clear and safe to use. At the Living Legacy Native Plant Garden, we're working with the Garden Club and the Stevensville third graders. They went through and did a lot of brush removal, and then I followed up with that and picked it all up for them and disposed of it properly. Parks is working to refinish some of the signage over there. They're pretty old signs. So when the weather cooperates, we're going to sand those down and repaint them and make those just kind of beautify the area a little bit for next spring when the third graders are going to be in there and active, replanting that garden and really using that space. At Veterans Park, we've made some steps forward with the renovation. We have the forms built and the sleeves in the ground for the new flagpoles. We were going to try and pour concrete for that this week, but the weather didn't cooperate. So we're working with Rivera Concrete next week. And we have a conference call on Monday to pick the best day for next week to get that poured. As some of you have seen, the Golden Blue Star monuments are already relocated. And yeah, once we get the flagpoles going, we'll be in business. Still waiting to hear from HDR on a pool repair plan. This time of year, it's probably not going to happen until the spring. So we have a little bit of time to put a plan into place for that. We had the Scarecrow Festival from the 16th of October through Halloween. We had 16 participants and we partnered with the library again to do another story walk. That was a Scarecrow themed kids book. Overall, I've heard a lot of good things about that event. We didn't officially track or count that. But personally, every time I drove by, there was people out there on the path, checking that out. And we've got a lot of good feedback from the community with the COVID edition of the Scarecrow Festival that we were able to do. Some other things going on, just I'm assisting Public Works whenever I can. They have a lot on their table or on their plate. So I'm always trying to help them out if I have a little bit of time with any fall cleanup that has to do with any parks or green spaces. An event that I'm working on currently, I'm working with Lori Lewis at the high school for about 5 years. She's done a turkey trot on Thanksgiving. Last year, 4-H took it over as a fundraiser. This year, the town is working to do a COVID-safe turkey trot. We're going to do small groupings of times that go off in staggered times. So that way we can prevent large groups of people coming together and kind of space people out on the path. My goal is to get that all finalized and launch the website tomorrow, as well as get flyers around town for registration. And that will be Thanksgiving morning at 9 a.m. for the 5K run. And then there'll be a 2K kind of family run walk event along with that. That'll go off at about 10 a.m. And then I'm working with Randy Hodgson's, the president of the Whitetail Golf Course, and we're trying to implement a cross-country ski program that will have community ski days as well as kids camps out there. So currently researching and looking for gear basically is where we're at now. They have the machine to cut the course and put the tracks out in the snow when it comes. Now we're just kind of looking around for options to get some cross-country ski gear together. And that's what we've been working on. Any questions?
Great, thanks, Bobby. Are there any questions from council? Okay, great. We'll move on then. Police Department, Chief Marble.
Okay, so if we look at the monthly report, the first paragraph there, the traffic study is completed. I just have to compile the data and get that out. So it should be available for the next council meeting. Didn't have a lot of time to dedicate towards it, unfortunately, just because of staffing issues and things like that. But I think we got some really good data on for the lines installed. So we should be able to see how those affected the intersections there. We're waiting for the phones for the PD. That should be happening tomorrow, actually. And we did have a hard drive failure in our server, our internal server. The IT services came and took care of that for us. Fortunately, with the server that we have, it's kind of takes care of itself. So it was able to take care of all of the data and rebuild itself. So none of our data was corrupted. We didn't lose anything. So I'm really glad that we have that. In the past, we didn't have that and we had a hard drive failure. It was very costly to rectify that situation. So, and we're still working through the hiring process. We have a Montana certified applicant right now that we're looking at just in the preliminary stages. Hopefully by next council meeting, there will be more information about that. We have had an influx of complex cases, felony cases. It's occupied a considerable amount of my time in particular. The case is finished with regards to the rash of thefts from vehicles that we had. And hopefully we can get those individuals held accountable for that particular thing. We do know who they are. A lot went into that case. There was writing 3 search warrants. There was a lot of property management that went into that. The finished case is approaching 100 pages, but it's involving multiple jurisdictions, and hopefully we can get a resolution to that very soon. Night shift officer, our newest officer, is doing a good job. He's really being visible, getting out there, getting some things done. And of course, the intent for his position is primarily to deter crime and deal with particular issues that happen that we don't normally get during the day. So If we look at our stats, they're fairly consistent with what we normally experience this time of year. The numbers will start going down. They always do as they get colder, which is good. And I don't think there's really anything out of the norm. 50 cases, calls for service is what we took during the month of October. So are there any questions?
Thanks, Chief.
You bet.
All right. Next up is the Public Works Report. George is not able to join us this evening. You have the report, however, in your packet for your review. So we'll move on to the remainder of our agenda. We have no guests, correspondence, or public hearings for you tonight. And so we'll go into unfinished business. I suppose the only, I'll do one correction on correspondence. You do, in terms of correspondence, you don't have any public correspondence, but you have 2 letters of resignation, one from Mr. Michelson and one from Ms. Holcomb, which you previously received. Because they're mentioned tonight, I will have Janelle incorporate those into the record, but we didn't include them into your packet as we didn't have them at the time of publishing. But we can incorporate those as part of the record. With that then, unfinished business, you have discussion decision, conduct of council member Michelson. This is a carryover from past agendas. We left it on the agenda for a brief conversation for you tonight. And so with that, I'll open the floor. I know your intent, I think, when this originally came up was to further discuss where you left off from your last workshop on this matter, and perhaps recommend disciplinary action to the council. I think that intent may have changed given recent events, but nonetheless, you have an opportunity tonight to further discuss. And with that, I'll leave it to the council.
I guess I'm just going to kind of make a final statement on this. You know, as I stated several weeks ago, I did forgive Mr. Michelson for the conduct towards myself. However, the conduct towards the citizens of the town and towards the employees of the town is definitely uncalled for. And if he did not resign, I do think that it would have been in the best interest for the council to seek some sort of punishment.
I'll follow up with that. I think having it on the agenda, I appreciate that you still left it on there. Mayor Dewey, our staff, people, victims, staff that were victims of our community, victims of our council, victim, Mayor Dewey. Everybody needs some closure with this, with the understanding that this kind of behavior has been accepted in Stevensville and in our government for decades. And it's not allowed anymore. That it is not okay to treat other people this way. And I personally would like to apologize for everybody that was affected negatively in this instance, that this behavior went on for so long. And that we weren't able to reach a decision as a council on your behalf. But I think with the resignation that happened, we are able to put this to rest with a very bold statement that it won't be tolerated moving forward from anybody. It doesn't matter. We all deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. So, you know, on my behalf, I do apologize for everyone that was receiving backlash from this. But we have a great opportunity right now to move forward and put that behind us. And I just hope that we do so.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it sounds like to wrap this up, I appreciate the sentiments shared by both Mr. Vick and Ms. Devlin. As the executive of the organization, I too look forward to the opportunity to turn the page on this and move into an era where this type of behavior hopefully isn't exhibited by council members, and if it is, we swiftly address it and resolve the issue so that it doesn't fester into what it probably has over far too long. So with that, is there anything further from council on that subject? Okay, I'll consider the matter closed, and you won't see it appear on any further agendas. Your next unfinished item of business is discussion decision on the review of policies relevant to conduct of council members. Again, a carryover from your past workshop where you desired to separate behavior and policy review. This is the policy review of that conversation. My guess is that you aren't prepared to go into policy review tonight. If you decide you want to continue down that road of policy review, it probably won't hurt to do so. If you're not prepared tonight to go deep into policy review, then I suggest that maybe we throw this on a future agenda where more time can be devoted to the subject, if that's what's at the council's interest. Ms. Devlin? I'm not sure which one of you had it up first. I'm sorry.
We can arm wrestle, Dempsey, if you want. I think it would be in best interest not to review policy where there's just two of us serving on the council at this time. I think we need some influence, some ears, and some input from a full council rather than just Mr. Vick and I taking our opinions and our thoughts and writing those into policy changes.
Correct. That was actually just about the same thing I was going to say. I was going to suggest the second meeting of January to allow if we do have new council members by then, allow them to kind of get their feet wet, know what they're coming into, and allow them to have some time to review the code of conduct.
Okay. So I guess the question I have then is do you folks want to leave this as an unfinished business item until you do have a council to address it, or is there a specific date you don't want us to bring it back to? Ms. Devlin?
I think that if we want to revisit this, then we can personally submit it as an agenda item. But I don't think right now,
Okay.
Given the circumstances, we don't know when we're going to fill these seats, that setting a day in the future is appropriate. I know coming in as a new council member that quickly, I don't know that I would have that great of a grasp on what needed to change. So I'm a little hesitant,
Okay.
in doing so at this time.
Understood. Mr. Vick, do you concur with that?
Yeah, I concur. I think it's best for us to wait till after we get a full council set in.
Okay, great. We'll let that rest until council reinitiates the conversation. And we could keep it kind of on a back burner list in case you guys forget. The administration's happy to remind you. All right. That concludes the unfinished business portion of your agenda then tonight. We'll move into new business. Item A is discussion decision on suspension of council rules to cancel November 26th, 2020 town council meeting in observance of Thanksgiving and authorizing claims to be paid out of cycle. As with the routine in the last 2 months of the year, the fourth Thursday typically falls right around Thanksgiving or typically on Thanksgiving, of course, and then right before Christmas. This is a process we undertake to make sure it's okay with council that we send some checks out to keep the bills paid up while you're on a little bit of a recess. Mr. Vick?
Mr. Mayor, wasn't this included in my motion last year for the post-Thanksgiving, for the day off after Thanksgiving?
I think that the only thing, as I recall, we could go back and look, but as we recalled in the office, your motion covered the day after Thanksgiving, but not necessarily canceling that meeting and then paying the claims.
Okay, would there be any Montana or federal code preventing us from allowing the claims like that being paid out of cycle through perpetuity?
Not necessarily. I guess the reason that we bring this up in the meeting, the first meeting of the month, is give you an opportunity, should you decide, no, we don't want to pay claims out of cycle, and instead we just want to reschedule that fourth Thursday meeting, you have the opportunity to do so. And I think it's going to depend council to council on what the preference is in any given year. So.
Well, with that, I'll make a motion to approve suspending the council rules to cancel the November 26th town council meeting in observance of Thanksgiving and authorizing claims to be paid.
Is there a
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Vick, seconded by Ms. Devlin to approve the suspension of council rules and paying claims out of cycle for the November 26th cancellation of meeting. Any further council comment on the matter? Okay, I don't see any public comment come in. Ms. Berthoud, anything on your end? Okay. With that then, Ms. Berthoud, do you mind calling for the vote, please?
Councilmember Devlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Vick.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Your next item B, is discussion decision, extension of final plat filing deadline for phase 2, excuse me, of the Twin Creeks subdivision. Your packet outlines some information in regards to this. It's been considerable time since the council has undertaken any kind of action like this. Primarily, I guess, the history of this, the subdivision or the second phase, the second and third phase of the subdivision is under new ownership. In the original preliminary plat approvals, deadlines were set consistent with Montana law in order to file final plats. The subdividers are seeking an extension now of that deadline, much like the deadline extension that was issued for phase 1. If you approve this extension, the deadline would be moved from January 15th of 2021 out 1 year to January 15th of 2022. There is a representative from PCI on the line. Should the council have any questions?
Can I just speak, Mayor Dewey?
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me? Okay. First of all, thank you. That was a pretty good explanation. So it was approved back in 2008, and then phase 1 has been filed, and as you know, most of it's all built out. And then a couple months ago, the developers hired our firm to work on phases 2 and 3. So we're just getting started on this. Phase 1 had been extended for nearly 2 years, and we're just asking for a 1-year extension on phase 2. I don't anticipate that we would need an extension for phase 3, but we're just talking about only 1 year for phase 2 at this point.
Okay. I've got no questions. However, I'm going to make a motion to extend it by 1 year and 1 day because the 15th is a Sunday.
Okay, Mr. Vick's motion is to extend the deadline 1 year and 1 day to January 16th, 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, second by Ms. Devlin. Any further council discussion? All right, we'll give a second for public comment to come in. Okay. Hearing no public comment come in, I'll go ahead. Ms. Berthad, would you call for the vote, please?
Councilmember Devlin,
Councilmember Devlin.
Councilmember Vic,
Aye.
Great, thank you. Ms. Berthoud will be in touch to schedule each of you to come in. There is a agreement we do have to have signed by the town council members and the mayor, and so she'll coordinate those efforts with you more than likely on Monday to get that signed, and then we'll get that over to PCI for your records.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good evening, sir.
You too, sir.
The next item of business on the council's agenda then is discussion decision on the placement of a no outlet sign at Peterson Place. As Ms. Holcomb noted at the last town council meeting, there apparently is some traffic issues where folks may confuse Peterson Place as a through street from Spring to Park Avenue. She's requested, or at the time at our last council meeting, requested that this be possibly addressed by the town council. And so on her behalf, we placed the agenda item on your agenda tonight. Traffic signs and those types of control devices are under the jurisdiction or authority, if you will, of the town council for approval of placement.
I'll make a motion to approve this sign. No outlet sign on Peterson.
Second.
Mr. Vic seconds. Moved by Ms. Devlin, seconded by Mr. Vic to place the no outlet sign at Peterson Place. Council discussion? I recall there was far more discussion about signs the last time this came up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With that, we'll call for the vote. Ms. Berthoud, go ahead.
Councilmember Devlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Vic,
Aye.
Okay. That leaves us with new business item D, discussion decision on the town council's vacancies in Ward 1 and Ward 2. Consistent with town council rules, a public notice has gone out both on the posting board, the newspaper, and our internet channels, notifying citizens that a vacancy exists in both the first and second wards of the community. We will, as I recall, we take applications for 10 days from that public notice, when that period started on Monday the 16th, and we will take applications, or excuse me, Monday the 9th. We will take applications up until November 18th at 5 p.m. for those two positions. At which time then council will convene, nominate applicants for interview, conduct those interviews, and then nominate a candidate for each position. So the question that we need answered tonight primarily is when you want to meet to review those applications, conduct interviews, and make an appointment. State statute gives the council 30 days to replace the vacancy. So you have until December 5th to make appointments. That would be ideal so that you're consistent with state law. However, given circumstances, if you go beyond the 30 days, nothing magically goes bad. I mean, nobody turns into a pumpkin or anything. So you're just not consistent with state law at that point. So just bear that in mind. So with that, Ms. Berthoud and I are at your disposal for a calendar. Ms. Devlin.
Could we meet to review the applications on the 20th? And possibly do interviews on the 30th? That would allow for appointment to happen before the 5th. And take into consideration anybody traveling over the holidays.
Yeah, that'll work for me as well.
Okay. And just so you're, the scheduling wise of a meeting, we'll work around the two of your availability, which I think is probably broader than what it has been. with 2 other council members on the council. So if you want to meet during the day or in the evening or whatever that looks like, we just need to know that so it's scheduled. My assumption at this point, just looking at the number of days that are passing, is we'll still have to meet on Zoom on the 20th. Is that correct? Or will we be?
Not
or
on my.
will you be looking?
I'm good.
You'll be free by then?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll leave that up to council. You let me know if you want to meet in person or on Zoom. We need to know the expectation right away, simply because we have to schedule rooms for the meeting to be held in. So we just need to figure out those logistics.
I'll just throw it out there that particular day, I'm available after 6.
I'm
On the
available,
20th.
and I'm available anytime that day.
Okay. Ms. Devlin, is that 6 or later, or is 6 o'clock okay? So we could meet at 6 o'clock on the 20th for you to go through those applications and nominate who you want to proceed with in terms of interviews. And is your preference to meet in person?
That would be my preference if that would work with Miss Devlin.
I think so. There's 2 of us. It's not hard to social distance.
Not at all.
That's correct. Okay. We'll check on the availability of space for you on the 20th at 6 p.m. From there, then, do you want to explore dates? Do you want us to look at the 30th at the same time or a different time, and see if we can't reserve something then as well?
30th, I would be available 5 on.
My schedule at work isn't out yet, but if we schedule that for that time, I'll make it work.
Okay. I guess we'll throw the 30th on the calendar with a time to be determined, because I think that time may depend a little bit on how many applicants you proceed with, and the time needed to get through those people. Because in past appointments, we have had to have 2 nights of interviews just to get through everybody. So we can cross that bridge when we get to it on the 20th, and better solidify. We'll at the very least have a range of time available, but a specific time will be set when we kind of have a better idea of what we're looking at in terms of applicants. So, okay. If there are conflicts with those dates, the town clerk and I will be in touch with the council to find alternatives in terms of if space isn't available for those 2 dates, then we may either entertain a virtual meeting or what have you. We'll work through that. But for now, we'll look at the 20th and the 30th as your dates to proceed. Is there any further questions from council?
Possible to have, when we're going through the applications, would it be possible to have that at town hall?
Well, anything's possible. So if the council wants to adopt a format or proceed with a format where the council itself meets in person, but public attendance to the meeting is virtual, like we're doing tonight, that can be facilitated. The challenge with the council chambers is that we unfortunately can't accommodate members of the public in that room given the space we have available for social distancing. A little bit easier when there's fewer council members, but we're still going to have all of that other, we'll still have some staff and all of that. So yes, the council chambers is available as long as the council is okay with the public attending that meeting virtually, which we can easily accommodate.
I think, given the circumstances that we find ourselves in, with 2 vacancies, at the same time, we're right in the middle of holidays. We're under a 30-day time frame. I would bet that the people of our town would give us a little bit of grace and understanding as we go through this process and try and meet those deadlines. I mean, it certainly isn't Mr. Vick or myself's doing, right? So I don't know, Mr. Vick, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think the general public will probably be more forgiving on that. I honestly don't really foresee us having the entire town coming wanting to sit in on us going through applications. But I mean, I would like public participation and whatnot, but if it makes it easier for us to facilitate this to where the public joins us virtually, that would be fine with me.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then is our first option is to hold a public meeting at the library room. Our second option is a hybrid of virtual and in-person meeting. And then our third option is an all virtual meeting altogether. Certainly, I think that we can, availability is wide open of the council chambers because that room is literally useless for anything but court right now. And so, yeah, we can make something work. We'll just keep you up to date as to what that looks like. And we have some time between now and then as well. So anything further then on that note of the vacancies and how we're proceeding? Okay, very good. That concludes then the business portion of the town's council's agenda tonight. The executive report, as I typically do on the first meeting, I leave it to the department heads to keep you up to speed in terms of what's going on in the community or in the organization as we proceed through. I can tell you we've a couple of staff and I have attended today and yesterday a workshop provided by the Department of Commerce here in Montana. A roadmap to recovery workshop is what they call it and it addresses COVID-19 and the economy and what the path forward may look like for communities across the state. And the webinar is attended by communities all across Montana and just in Montana. And then when we break into breakout sessions, they split us into communities of similar size. I'm encouraged by, in that experience, and Mr. Sunstang and Ms. Berthoud can probably echo, I'm encouraged by the position that Stevensville sits in currently. Just in my own travels throughout the state over the past couple of years, and then in conversing with leaders in other communities, for towns of our size, we really are kind of on the cutting edge of governance, and our economy is doing very well in terms of businesses and our gain of businesses in Stevensville. We have a vibrant downtown. So, even in light of as dark as maybe the world looks right now in terms of the pandemic and our economy, we, I think, have the strength here and the resiliency to fare pretty well. And I think we'll know more about that tomorrow as we finish out that conference. But nonetheless, I just wanted to share, those are kind of my off the cuff thoughts on that. Is I think we're going to be okay, and we sit pretty well. Doesn't mean that we should get complacent, or that the worst might not happen. But I think we're in a good spot. On that note, in terms of coronavirus, We are continuing to monitor that situation very closely, especially as the trajectory in Ravalli County's case counts increases on a regular basis. We find ourselves now just 12, 13 days out from Halloween, and I expect that cases will probably tick up based on the holiday events that occurred. So we're taking every precaution necessary. We had a staff meeting today, social distancing, of course, where we did kind of a rebrief of the staff to cover protocols and expectations of them in their roles of public service for the town of Stevensville, because we do have some exposure currently within the organization that's uncertain, and we used our first trial of that, so to speak, where we did have a potential exposure to, we learned some things from that, and so we're addressing things somewhat differently, and you will see changes in how we operate going forward as we get deeper into winter. We'll look at some shift schedules and changes in manpower as we work through possible exposures in the organization. So the really big takeaway today was really that we're reinforcing social distancing and the use of masks here in the office and in our workplaces, and reinforcing the philosophy of taking care of each other so that we can work together to take care of our community. So I have reached out to the public health department via email here in Ravalli County as one last plea to see if we can't get any local case data for Stevensville to aid in our decision making. If you recall, in previous conversations regarding public health, specifically in Ravalli County and in Stevensville, I had expressed some frustration that public health wasn't cooperating in that regard, and in that, they were giving us the same information that they'll give the general public or media and press. And I still feel strongly that in order for this organization, both the administration and the town council, to make informed decisions, you really need to have some solid data in front of you about the community you're elected to serve. And so I'll continue to work with them to see if there's some way we can work out an agreement and cooperate, and keep you posted on that progress. As of today, I've not heard anything back, but I hope to this week. I understand that they're busy, but I also do want to make sure things are addressed for our community in the best way possible. I think that Police Chief mentioned briefly our phone system upgrade is scheduled to be installed tomorrow. They'll be here putting some phones on desks and getting everybody squared away in the offices throughout. And then they'll be back the following week to do a firm switchover of the system. So they're going to come install the system. We'll still use the old system until everyone's trained on the new system. And then later next week, you'll see a switchover. So those folks calling in, we just, appreciate your patience. Hopefully it's a much smoother system to navigate in terms of callers calling in. And it's a bit more brief than the 30-second recording we've got on there now. But nonetheless, it should help the efficiency of our office. It'll help us in terms of COVID-19 response as we kind of spread people out a little bit and work a little bit more remotely. So we're eager to see that come through this week. We're working on some snow response material. We're a little bit late in that this year as we've already experienced a couple of snowfalls. But with the pandemic, it's kind of tasked us on our public information stuff. We're going to get some information out to the citizens and the general public about what our response looks like in terms of snow removal. And in fact, as I mentioned earlier, you'll see some shift changes. I think that some of those changes are actually going to help snow removal altogether. But nonetheless, the public can expect that in the interim. Just remember, when snow does fall, please do not deposit your snow in the public right-of-way, especially in a place where it could be a hazard to other vehicles. We have a few businesses that continue to deposit their snow in the streets, and just please remember that that is not allowed. It is your snow. Please take care of it on your property. Otherwise, our snow removal equipment is all up to snuff and ready to go. We had a couple breakdowns that have been repaired. So otherwise, I think that really covers everything I intended to cover at tonight's executive report, unless there's questions from council. All right. With that, I'll turn it over to town council comments.
I would just like to make the community aware that, yes, we have COVID, and yes, it has kind of changed things a little bit, but we still are having Country Christmas, which is a huge event that a lot of people look forward to every year. We will be having that. It's going to look a little different this year. Some people have joined together to kind of change things up a bit, in that instead of caroling down the street, there will be decorated vehicles, and you don't have to sign up for that. You can just show up to participate in that. Also, there will be a parade of trees where businesses will be provided with a tree that they can decorate. A map will be provided to people in the Bitterroot Star, and they can go around to that map and vote on their favorite trees. Those trees will then be auctioned off, and the money will go to local nonprofit. To piggyback off that a little bit, there's also an opportunity if businesses don't want to decorate a tree, they can decorate their windows, as well as the town. People can participate and decorate their yards. All will be included in the map, and there will be prizes for first and second place in the trees, the windows, and the yard decorations. Applications can be picked up at Bitterroot Star or A to Z Personnel. So that is a really exciting event. It will kick off Country Christmas and go into the 13th, I believe. And we're hoping that the town in the past has done the coloring contest to flip the switch for the lights, and hope that the town would continue to do that this year as well. So it's just a really great time that given all the turmoil that 2020 has brought, that we can maybe exit this year with a real sense of community and a really great time. So.
Question. Well, firstly, yes, we will. We can get that flip the switch coloring contest up off the ground in a jiffy, no problem. For those of the competitive spirit throughout town, do we have any idea what these prizes look like?
Not tell you that yet, but they're good.
Oh, it's a secret. Gotcha. Okay, fair enough.
They're good.
Anything
They're good.
further, Ms. Devlin?
Nope, that's it.
Mr. Vick.
Only thing really I gotta say is I guess I'm gonna try to do some recruiting here. So it was pretty much this meeting a year ago I brought up the Climate Change Advisory Board. COVID hit, so obviously that kind of hurt our recruitment efforts and whatnot for that board. However, I would like to, if possible, just kind of extend a hand out to everyone who is eligible, which is really any citizen in the town and within our extraterritorial area, to please fill out an application and have a say in how the town really uses energy in the future and looks towards more sustainable ways of providing services and that are also more economical.
If I can just take up a little bit more of your time, Mr. Vick brought up a good point in terms of boards that I'd like to bring to your attention now before I forget the next time. If the council would be kind enough to put the 29th of January, that's a Friday, on your calendar, that is the 5th Friday of January. That is typically when we close town hall and do some capacity building with the staff. That would be a really great day for the staff to spend some time with the town council, given that there will be a couple of new town council members on at that point. And then those of you who are still on the council, if we could get together. It's been about a year since we've had, I think in fact, January's 5th Friday last year was the one council meeting we were able to workshop with Mr. Vick and Ms. Devlin together. So if you guys wouldn't mind marking your calendars, and if you're able to spend time with us that day, that would be wonderful. We'd sure love to have your company. In the vein of boards, then, you can expect there will be an evening in January of 2021 where Ms. Berthoud and I will set aside a few hours and hold some training with board members. Of course, the council will be involved in that as well, as liaisons on each of the boards, just to give all the board, we'll get you all together as safely as we can. And we have to borrow a larger facility to get you all in distance, but we really want to get all the boards up to speed at one time on your roles and responsibilities as board members, how boards interact with each other and with citizens, all of those different things. That it's been some time. Basically, we'd like to hold a board orientation, and part of that orientation will be a review of Zoom, so that, because part of our challenge in holding board meetings is that we've been holding meetings virtually, and not all of our board members are savvy or up to speed on using virtual means to meet. And so that's really slowed us down. We'd like to kind of bring that back up to speed. We know virtual means are going to be around for some time. And so that's one thing that Ms. Berthoud and I just discussed, I think Monday or Tuesday, that we'd like to get on the calendar with those boards. So we're making a push to get some of those board seats filled up, get the boards full, get you all in here in January, and get everybody up to speed. But again, if you would set aside the 29th on your calendar, we'd like to have you in attendance that day and do some capacity building. So with that, if there aren't any further council comments, all right, we don't have any board reports, do we? No, and like I said, boards haven't met. So with that, then, I appreciate your time this evening. Oh, Mr. Vick spoke too soon.
Yeah, so this isn't from the from a board that any of the council members sit on, but it is one, or well, it's one that I sit on, but not as a representative of the council. For this year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the fire department, the firefighters associations have agreed to not put on the banquet this year at Victor Steakhouse. So we will not be receiving invitations to that. They have instead decided to give money to the firefighters so that they can go out for their own supper instead. And I do want to state that I am a member of the fire department, but I have turned down that simply because I am on the town council.
Okay. Any further comment then? All right, I appreciate your time and cooperation this evening. We will be in touch with details on your November 20th and November 30th town council meetings. And until then, be well and be safe. Thank you.